Welcome to our deep dive, into entrepreneurship and time management and, specifically Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to say I was hooked just by the title.
Right. It's such a powerful idea.
Yeah.
That we can actually get more free time as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
As our businesses grow.
Exactly. It feels like a total paradox.
It does.
But Dan's journey kind of sets the stage for, this whole different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
He went from shoplifting and, juvenile detention to founding and selling all these tech companies.
Crazy.
And he even became like a top angel investor.
Yeah, so impressive.
So it wasn't a straight line to success for him.
Not at all. And it makes you think about how all those experiences shape who we become, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like when he was in that youth facility, Dan found comfort in a Java programming book.
Wow.
Most teenagers wouldn't go near that kind of stuff.
I know.
But for him, it was like a spark that ignited this passion and, ultimately led him to success as an entrepreneur.
You know what? That's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's almost like those struggles gave him an advantage.
I think so, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like resilience, resourcefulness, that out-of-the-box thinking.
Right.
These are all things that you can't really learn in a classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. So that leads us to the heart of Dan's method, the buyback principle.
Okay.
Which is to be awesome at a few key tasks and delegate everything else.
Right.
Sounds simple in theory, but I'm guessing it's much harder to actually do.
Yeah, for a lot of entrepreneurs, it means totally shifting their mindset. We tend to believe we have to do it all ourselves.
Oh, yeah, no one can do it like me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Dan argues that this mentality, this no one can do it like me, actually creates what he calls a pain line.
Pain line.
Yeah, where we're constantly doing these low-value tasks that drain our energy.
Right.
And don't really use our strengths.
Yeah, and you hit that pain line, and then what?
You hit a wall, basically. You limit your own growth and burn out. But what's interesting is that most entrepreneurs, they just keep pushing through that wall.
Yeah, thinking it's like a badge of honor or something.
Right. It's almost like a weird pride thing.
Yeah.
But Dan tells this really compelling story about a client named Stuart. Who, despite being bedridden due to a health condition, saw his business explode after applying the buyback principle.
Wow. Bedridden and running a thriving business.
I know, right?
That's incredible.
It's a powerful example of how delegating the right tasks can really work.
Totally. It makes you realize that success isn't tied to just hours worked.
No.
It's about focusing on the right things.
Exactly. And that's where his famous quote comes in, don't hire to grow your business, hire to buy back your time.
Okay, that is a great quote.
It is.
It's so simple, but such a huge shift in thinking.
Totally.
But how do we actually put this into practice? Where do we start?
Well, Dan gives us a really practical tool called the DRE matrix.
DRE matrix?
Yeah, picture a grid with 4 quadrants.
Okay.
Delegate, replace, invest, and produce. The idea is to analyze your tasks and figure out which quadrant they belong in.
Interesting. So it's like a visual map of your time and energy.
Exactly.
That's the goal here.
And the goal is to move as much of your time as possible to the produce quadrant.
Where you're doing the high-value work that you're good at and that you enjoy, right?
Exactly. And you also want to invest time in the investment quadrant.
Oh, yeah. Personal development, relationships.
Yeah, all the things that recharge you.
Right. Okay, so strategically moving away from those low-value tasks in delegate and replace.
Exactly.
But delegating is one thing. Replacing yourself in your business sounds, a bit intimidating.
It can be. But Dan has a clear roadmap for this.
Oh, good.
He calls it the replacement ladder.
Replacement ladder.
And the first rung, which is often the most crucial, is hiring an administrative assistant.
Really? An assistant, even if your business is still pretty small.
Yes, even in the early stages, it can be a game changer.
Think
about all the hours you spend on admin tasks.
Email scheduling.
Yep, all of that.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
Exactly. And that's time stolen from your business, from your family, your dream life.
Right.
An assistant can help you get that time back.
So they're like a gatekeeper.
Totally. Protecting you from all those low-value tasks.
Right.
So you can focus on what matters. The things only you can do.
Okay.
He even tells this funny story about his brother, Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Who negotiated to keep his assistant even after selling his company.
Wow.
For like 9 figures.
He must have known something.
He definitely understood the value of having someone like that.
That's amazing. Okay, so an assistant is step 1.
Yeah.
What's next on the replacement ladder?
Next is creating systems and processes
that
allow your business to run without you constantly watching over everything. And this is where playbooks come in.
playbooks like in sports.
Exactly. Imagine having a detailed playbook, a step-by-step guide for every repeatable task in your business.
Wow, so it's like a recipe book for success.
That's a great way to put it. Anyone can follow it and get consistent results.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But who has the time to create all those playbooks?
Right. Well, Dan recommends using what he calls the camcorder method.
Camcorder method.
Yeah, you just record yourself doing the task.
Okay.
And then someone else can watch the video and write the instructions.
That's brilliant. So you're documenting the process, but you're also making sure the person writing the playbook really understands it.
Exactly. And sometimes they'll even catch things you missed, you know?
Like missing steps or inefficiencies.
Yeah. So it's really helpful.
Okay, I'm convinced playbooks are powerful.
They are.
What's the next step as we climb this ladder to freedom?
Next, we move into the world of marketing.
Okay.
And Dan's approach is all about building a system that attracts and converts customers without you needing to be involved all the time.
So basically creating a marketing machine that can run on autopilot.
Exactly. That frees you up to focus on other areas of your business.
That sounds like a dream come true for any entrepreneur.
It is.
But how do you actually build something like that?
It starts with getting really clear about your target audience.
Okay.
Who are you trying to reach? What are their needs?
Right. Their pain points.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once you understand your ideal customer, you can create marketing that speaks directly to them.
No more generic messages?
Nope. You want content that resonates with your ideal customer. You know, content that solves their problems and positions you as the expert.
Yeah, that makes sense. But creating all that content sounds time-consuming, even with a team.
That's why Dan recommends batching your content creation.
Batching.
Yeah. Instead of trying to do it all at once, set aside blocks of time to brainstorm, write, record videos.
Okay, so it's like an assembly line for content.
Exactly. And once you have a library of content, you can start using different channels to distribute it.
Social media, email, marketing blogs?
Yeah, all of that. The key is being strategic about which channels you use and how you use them.
So it's not just posting and hoping for the best.
No, it's about having a plan and optimizing each channel for maximum impact.
Right. So social media, for example, is great for building relationships.
Absolutely. It's about creating a community around your brand, not just broadcasting messages.
It's about connecting with people.
Exactly. People buy from people they know, like, and trust.
That's what effective marketing is all about.
You got it. And that leads us to the next rung of the ladder. Sales. This is where everything comes together, you know?
Yeah, where all your marketing efforts translate into actual revenue.
Exactly.
But sales can feel so personal.
Yeah, it is.
How can you even think about replacing yourself in that process?
It starts with creating a clear, repeatable sales process.
Okay.
What are the steps from initial contact to closing the deal? You need a roadmap for your sales team.
So a system that doesn't rely entirely on your personal touch.
Exactly. But you still need the right people to execute that system.
Of course.
And Dan has a bit of an unconventional approach to hiring for sales.
Oh, really?
He emphasizes personality and skills over just experience.
I've always thought experience was the most important thing.
Yeah, a lot of people think that.
Yeah.
But Dan believes it's more about finding someone with the right mindset and the potential to grow. He's a big fan of using personality assessments.
Okay.
To find people who are naturally persuasive, resilient. You know, those real go-getters.
So it's about finding those hidden gems and then polishing them into sales superstars?
Exactly. And once you've found them, it's all about training and empowerment. Dan advocates for a combination of product knowledge, training, sales techniques, coaching, role-playing.
Okay.
He also believes in having a strong sales script.
Right.
That addresses common objections and guides the conversation.
So it's like giving them a cheat sheet for success, but with the training to back it up?
Exactly.
Okay, so we've built a sales machine that can run without us constantly being there.
We have.
We've climbed pretty high on this ladder.
We have.
What's the final rung?
The final rung, and probably the most challenging, is leadership.
Leadership.
It's about moving from transactional management, you're just telling people what to do, to transformational leadership, which is about inspiring and empowering your team to reach their full potential.
That sounds like a huge shift.
It is a big shift.
How do you even go about replacing yourself as a leader? It seems almost impossible.
It's not about stepping down completely, but about changing your leadership style.
Okay.
And in our next segment, we'll dive into what that looks like. You know, how to build a team that can thrive without you constantly hovering over them.
I can't wait to explore that. This has been such a fascinating look at the buyback principle.
It's a great concept.
As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with?
I hope they're getting thinking of the point that the buyback principle is a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
And it starts with self-awareness. Before you can even think about delegating or replacing yourself, you need to understand where your time and energy are going.
The DRP matrix is great for that.
Exactly. It's like taking stock of where you are before you can start making changes. And from there, you can start climbing that replacement ladder one rung at a time.
One step at a time.
Exactly. It's a process, and it won't happen overnight.
Right.
But the rewards are worth it.
I agree completely. We'll be back soon to delve deeper into Dan's strategies for transformational leadership time hacks and building a meaningful life.
Looking forward to it.
So stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. In part 1, we started exploring the buyback principle and how it can totally change how entrepreneurs approach work and life.
Oh, it's powerful stuff.
And one thing that really stuck with me was his focus on escaping those time assassins.
Yes, those little saboteurs that can, derail even the best laid plans.
We touched on them briefly, but I want to dig deeper.
Yeah, let's do it.
They're so relatable, it's scary.
I know, right? We all have a bit of each of those time assassins lurking inside us.
Oh, sure.
And the first one, the staller, is the master procrastination.
Uh-oh.
Delaying decisions, getting stuck in analysis paralysis.
Well, I know that one.
Right. Always second-guessing, overthinking, missing deadlines because they just can't seem to make a choice.
Totally. And Dan shares that great story about Sahid, right?
Oh, yeah. Sahid had this amazing opportunity to partner with Dan, something that could have really boosted his business. But he stalled. Took weeks to respond. And missed the boat completely.
Ouch.
It's gotta hurt. It's a tough lesson,
Yeah, procrastination can cost you big time.
More than just time, though.
Right.
It can cost you opportunities.
Absolutely.
It's often driven by fear, fear of failure or feeling of not being worthy.
So it's like self-sabotage in disguise.
I think so, yeah. It's not just about laziness or bad time management.
Right.
It's often something deeper.
Interesting. Okay, so that brings us to the speed demon.
Yes. The speed demon. All about quick decisions, impulsive actions. Hiring the first person they interview, jumping from project to project without finishing anything.
That sounds chaotic.
It often is. They're always on the go, but not always in the right direction.
That's a problem.
And the key is slowing down. Taking the time to really think things through.
To weigh the options.
Exactly. Make informed decisions, not just react impulsively.
It's like haste makes waste, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Now let's talk about the supervisor.
A supervisor.
A micromanager extraordinaire, hovering, critiquing, unable to delegate.
I've worked with a few supervisors.
Oh, I bet we all have.
It's not fun.
It creates such a stifling environment.
Yeah, it does. It kills creativity.
And motivation.
Totally. And actually, Dan shares a story about when he fell into the supervisor trap himself.
Oh, right.
He hired a really experienced software developer and gave him a big project, but with very little oversight.
Oh, no.
And it backfired. The developer didn't deliver.
Oh, wow.
The client wasn't happy. They lost the account.
That's tough.
That was a hard lesson for him, in finding that balance between delegation and guidance.
Yeah, it's about trusting your team, but also providing the right support.
So how do you strike that balance?
Dan talks about clear communication, setting expectations up front.
Okay.
Having those conversations to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Right.
And then providing regular check-ins.
For guidance and feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about micromanaging. It's about setting your team up to succeed.
I like that. Now, what about the saver?
The saver.
Is this someone who's just really good with money?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
No, the saver is obsessed with saving money.
Okay.
Even when it hurts their business. They always go for the cheapest option, even if it means sacrificing quality.
So it's not about being financially responsible. It's about being cheap.
Exactly. He tells this funny story about a friend who runs a really successful mastermind group.
Okay.
This guy was burning himself out, planning these big events every month.
Wow.
But he refused to hire help because he thought it was too expensive.
That's penny wise and pound foolish.
It is. He was so focused on saving money that he was actually hurting his business in the long run.
Not to mention himself.
Right. It's a good reminder that sometimes you have to invest money to make money.
Okay, and that brings us to the self-medicator.
The self-medicator uses work to escape from other problems. They work long hours, bury themselves in tasks, and avoid dealing with the real issues.
So they're using work as a distraction.
Exactly.
Right.
Like a way to numb themselves.
And Dan admits that he was a self-medicator in his early 20s.
Wow.
Using work to cope with feeling overwhelmed and stressed.
It happens.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to that.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into that trap when you're passionate about your work.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's not sustainable.
It's not. And Dan emphasizes finding healthy ways to manage stress.
Yeah.
Therapy, exercise, meditation, spending time with loved ones.
Right.
You need outlets outside of work.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've met all 5 time assassins.
We have.
And I gotta say, they're all a little too familiar.
I know, right?
What's the key to overcoming these tendencies?
Well, Dan says the first step is to figure out which one you identify with most. We all have a dominant tendency, but we can also show traits to the others.
So self-awareness and then taking steps to address it.
Exactly. Understand your patterns and develop strategies to counteract them.
Okay.
Like if you're a staller, set deadlines, break down tasks into smaller chunks.
Right.
If you're a speed demon, force yourself to pause and reflect before making decisions.
I like that. Turning those weaknesses into strengths.
That's the idea.
Okay, so now that we've tackled those time assassins, let's go back to the replacement ladder.
Okay.
We left off at rung 2. Delivery.
Yes, delivery. This is all about creating systems and processes that allow your business to run smoothly without you always having to be there.
Right, like building a well-oiled machine.
Exactly. And playbooks are a huge part of this.
Okay, those detailed step-by-step guides we talked about.
Yes, those are your playbooks, your recipes for success.
Right.
And the great thing about them is that anyone can follow them. It ensures consistency and quality even as your team grows.
Okay, so we've got our playbooks in place. Yeah. What else goes into building this well-oiled machine?
Well, you also need the right people.
The right team?
Exactly. The right team to execute those processes.
So it's not just about systems, it's about people too.
Absolutely. And Dan gives us a framework for finding, hiring, and training those people.
Okay, tell me more.
He really emphasizes clarity. You need to be crystal clear about the role, the tasks, the skills you're looking for.
Right. If you don't know what you need, you'll never find it.
Exactly. You need that clarity before you even start the hiring process.
Makes sense. And once you know what you're looking for, then what?
Then you need to cast a wide net.
Okay.
Job postings, networking events, LinkedIn industry events, referrals.
Don't limit yourself.
Exactly. Explore all the options. And Dan encourages thinking outside the box too.
Like what?
Like reaching out to people you admire in your industry.
Yeah.
Even if they're not actively looking for a job.
Oh, interesting. You never know, right?
Exactly. Someone might be open to a new opportunity or a challenge.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And once you've found some promising candidates, then what?
Then it's all about selling the role.
Okay.
You have to convince them why they should choose to work for you.
What makes your company special?
Exactly. What are the growth opportunities? What's the culture like?
It's like dating. You got to put your best foot forward.
Exactly. And once you've found the right person, it's all about setting them up for success.
Okay.
Clear expectations, ongoing training, regular feedback.
Create an environment where they can thrive.
Yes. So the delivery rung is about building that strong foundation.
The systems and the people.
Right.
That allows your business to run without you constantly needing to be involved.
Exactly. Which then frees you up to focus on other things, like marketing.
And that brings us to the next rung. Marketing.
Yeah, we'll dive into Dan's strategies for building a marketing machine that works without you in our next segment.
Sounds exciting. This has been a really insightful look at the replacement ladder.
That's a great framework.
As we wrap up this part, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Just remember, the buyback principle is about working smarter, not harder.
Okay.
It's about leveraging systems and empowering your team so you can focus on what you do best.
Right.
And it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
So be patient, celebrate the small wins, and keep climbing that ladder.
I love that. We'll be back soon to explore marketing automation and Dan's insights into building a fulfilling life.
Looking forward to it.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to, the final part of our deep dive into Buy Back Your Time. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have.
From confronting those time assassins.
Oh, yeah.
To building a well-oiled machine through systems and team building.
It's been a journey.
It has. And in this final segment, we get to explore some of the, more tactical aspects of Dan's methodology.
Okay.
Those time hacks that can make a real difference.
Oh, yeah, the time hacks.
I'm really intrigued by these.
Me too.
They sound like game changers for anyone who wants to be more efficient and productive.
They really can be.
Yeah.
And one of the most impactful ones is the $50 magic pill.
That one really caught my eye. What's the magic behind it?
Well, it's all about empowering your team to solve small problems without needing your approval all the time.
Okay.
You basically give each team member a set amount of money.
Like $50.
Yeah, Dan uses $50 as an example, but you can adjust it.
Right.
And they can spend that money without having to ask you.
So it's like a mini budget for problem solving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It lets them make decisions and take action without constantly checking in with you.
I like that.
It has so many benefits. It frees up your time tremendously.
Yeah. You're no longer the bottleneck for every little thing.
Exactly. And it also empowers your team.
Okay.
They feel trusted, knowing you have confidence in them.
They feel valued.
Yeah, and it creates this culture of problem solving where they're encouraged to think for themselves and find solutions.
Instead of always coming to you for every little thing.
Right. It's a win-win.
Less stress for you.
Yes.
More ownership for your team.
Absolutely. Okay, what other time hacks does Dan recommend?
Well, another good one is sync meetings with a repeat agenda.
Oh, yeah, that one's great.
Tell me more.
It's about having regular scheduled meetings with your team,
Okay.
but with a very specific structure.
Okay. What is that?
The key is to use the same agenda for every meeting.
Okay.
And that agenda should only have 7 key points.
Only 7? That seems so short.
It is, but that's the point. It forces you to focus on what's truly important.
Okay.
And it presents those meetings from, going off on tangents.
Oh, yeah, those meetings that could have been an email.
Exactly. So what are those 7 key points?
Yeah, what are they?
Well, Dan provides a template,
Okay.
but it covers things like wins from the past week, challenges you're facing,
Right.
key priorities for the coming week.
Okay.
Any feedback or suggestions?
So it's a structured way to keep everyone informed and on the same page.
Exactly. No more meeting madness.
I love it. Now, speaking of clarity and alignment, I remember Dan talking about a tool called the definition of done, or DOD.
Oh, yeah, the DOD.
Can you explain that one?
It's a concept from project management.
Okay.
But Dan applies it to any task, big or small. It's about being crystal clear about what done actually means.
Yeah, because sometimes done can be subjective.
Exactly. What you consider done might be different from what someone else considers done.
Right.
So whenever you delegate a task, you work with the person to define what the finished product should look like. What are the criteria, the deliverables?
So there's no room for misinterpretation.
Exactly. It eliminates ambiguity and makes sure everyone's on the same page.
It's like having a shared understanding of the finish line.
Exactly. No surprises or unmet expectations.
Okay, I like that a lot. These time hacks are so clever.
They are.
Like shortcuts to efficiency and productivity.
Yeah, and they're easy to implement.
That's the best part.
You can start using them today and see results.
Okay, I'm adding these to my toolkit.
Awesome.
Now I want to shift gears a bit and talk about the chapter that really resonated with me, Building a Meaningful Life. Okay. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle of building a business.
It is.
That we forget about the bigger picture, you know?
I know what you mean.
What truly matters.
Yeah. And Dan reminds us that reclaiming our time isn't just about business success. It's about creating a life we love.
A life filled with purpose and joy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He introduced the 7 pillars of life as a framework for evaluating our life balance.
Right. Can we go over those again?
Sure. The 7 pillars are health, family, love, finances, spirituality, friends, and contribution.
It's a really holistic approach to life.
It is.
It covers all the different areas that contribute to our well-being. How does Dan suggest we use these pillars?
He encourages us to regularly assess how satisfied we are in each area.
Okay.
Rate each pillar on a scale of 1 to 10, and then focus on improving your lowest scores.
So it's like a personal life audit?
Exactly. Where are you thriving? Where are you neglecting yourself?
It can be eye-opening.
It can. You might be surprised by what you find.
We tend to put so much into our businesses that other areas can suffer.
It's true. And Dan points out that all these pillars are interconnected. When one is weak, it affects the others.
Right. So if you're neglecting your health,
it's
going to impact your energy, your focus, your relationships, everything.
Exactly. It's all about balance.
Finding that harmony between all the different parts of our lives.
Right. And it's an ongoing process.
Yeah. Life is always changing.
It is. You're constantly adjusting and recalibrating.
Now, one of the most thought-provoking ideas in the book is the 10X vision.
Oh, yeah, the 10X vision.
Can you tell us more about that?
It's all about thinking big.
Okay.
Setting ambitious goals that really inspire you. It's about creating a vision for your future that's 10 times bigger than what you think is possible.
Wow, 10 times bigger. That's a challenge.
It is. But Dan argues that it's the only way to reach your full potential. He says, if you're not setting goals that scare you a little, you're not aiming high enough.
That's a great quote. But how do you even create a 10X vision? Where do you start?
Well, Dan gives us a framework.
Okay.
He says to think about your ideal life in 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. What does your business look like? What are you doing? Who are you with? What kind of impact are you making?
So painting a picture of your dream life, but on a much larger scale.
Exactly. And the more specific and vivid you can make it, the more powerful it becomes.
Okay.
Dan even suggests creating a visual representation.
Oh, like a vision board.
Yeah, or a mock-up of a magazine cover featuring you and your accomplishments.
I love that. It makes it feel more real.
It does. And once you have that vision, it becomes your guiding star.
Your North Star.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It helps you make decisions, stay focused, overcome obstacles.
It's like a roadmap to your future.
Yeah, and it keeps you motivated even when things get tough.
Because you have that bigger vision to strive for.
Exactly. It gives you something to aim for.
Right. And Dan provides strategies for turning that vision into reality.
It does.
Breaking down those big goals into smaller steps.
Yes, and then taking consistent action.
It's not just about dreaming big, it's about making those dreams happen.
Absolutely. The 10X Vision is a powerful tool.
It is. This has been such an inspiring deep dive into Buy Back Your Time.
It's a great book.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
And I have all these practical strategies I can use.
That's great.
But before we wrap up, what are some final words of wisdom you want to leave our listeners with?
I think Dan's most important message is that time is our most valuable asset. And we have the power to choose how we spend it.
Right.
He wants us to become masters of our time, not slaves to it.
Escape those time assassins, climb the replacement ladder, create a life we love.
Exactly.
It's a powerful reminder that we're in control.
We are.
This book is a must-read for any entrepreneur
It is.
who wants to reclaim their time, boost their productivity, and build a life they love.
Absolutely.
Wow.
If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend it.
It's a game changer. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey into time mastery and entrepreneurship.
It was my pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into something thought-provoking.
Sounds good.
Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep reclaiming your time.
恭喜你又听完了一本书，订阅以便不错过更多精彩节目，也别忘了分享给你的朋友，一起快乐听书学英语。